So I came into real estate right out of college. So literally graduated with a degree in finance and started real estate school in January. So I started on a team because I had no idea anything about real estate. I feel like in the first 6 months, I was able to identify the business aspect of real estate. As the business grows and as you become more and more recognized, people want to join the team because they see it as an easy pathway.
Guys, today we are excited that we're joined by the infamous Ginger Peters, founder of Ginger & Co., a powerhouse real estate team that has sold over $300 million in real estate.
That's a lot.
I think that's the entire state where Brad's from.
For
and
sure.
You've helped over 50 to 100 clients achieve their property goals. Your leadership skills, legit, it's kind of cool to see them recognized on a national scale at this point, right? You been named one of the 30 under 30, just a couple of years ago, like Brad and I. And the Keller Williams really rising star. But beyond the numbers, I think what really sets you apart is your ability to build strong relationships, to pivot quickly, to build top tier teams, and then turn a lot of the challenges that are coming your way into opportunities. You've done everything right. We don't care about that. We want to know what you haven't done great. We're excited to talk to you and dive into the strategy of your success, how you take care of your clients, all the other stuff you've done, and how you're really embracing this next part of your journey. So
Awesome.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So Brad is dying to ask a question because it's been so long before he said anything. He can't go more than 60 seconds without saying anything. But before we get to that, we got our private mastermind groups coming up. We've got we got Broker Boardroom in September. We got some cool stuff coming up. So there will be a link somewhere, so go check out where Brad and I are going to be in the country in the next several months. But let's jump in. So, Ginger, what did any other big accomplishments that I have not hit on that list so people know that they should sit down and listen?
We did start a property management company about 2 years ago. She has about 200 doors, pushing for 300 this year. That's up and rolling. We have big goals there. And then I'm recently became the operating principal of our Keller Williams brokerage here in the Triangle. So I am the OP.
So for those of you on the West Coast that don't know East Coast geography, the Triangle is like where all the smart stuff. It is the Research Triangle, which is Raleigh, Durham, and Winston-Salem. Is it still Winston-Salem? Is it still called that?
The Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill.
They kicked Winston-Salem out. They're like, no more tobacco.
It's the smart people and it's the football people or basketball people.
Yeah, they ain't football.
So you like basketball or you like computers, you probably are here.
No doubt. It's also like ground zero besides Phoenix of all the real estate tech. I feel like y'all are the ones that come out with it first. They try it first up in that area.
Try it. Yep. We are the test specimen here.
No doubt. So let's dive in just a little bit. I don't want to go all the way back down memory lane and be like, hey, how'd you get into it? But since you've been in it, which is probably 15, 20 years at this point?
14.
14. What's the biggest thing? I mean, I know you've had a great rise from it, but what's the biggest thing you can look back and be like, that was the trigger that let me know I was made for this kind of industry? Or it was an event? Was it a deal that happened? What was it?
So I came into real estate right out of college. So literally graduated with a degree in finance in December and started real estate school in January, licensed in March, and joined Keller Williams in April. So I've been with Keller Williams for 14 years. So I started on a team because I had no idea anything about real estate. I feel like in the first 6 months, I was able to identify the business aspect of real estate and how I could build a business. And I think that just realizing that versus the selling of property and working with clients, I feel like that was a big mind shift for me that came early on. I had signed a 1-year agreement with that team, so I stayed there for a year. But then when I went on my own, I realized I want to build a business so that I can help create other business leaders.
Which is completely different than most agents go, I want to try and sell houses. And then all of a sudden they go, I'm busy as hell. I don't have any strategy. I don't have any structure. I don't really have a business. I have a big, kind of a fun lifestyle. And they try and find the business aspect later, which is where you come in as an OP. It's just funny how that worked. We went business first and knew that if you did well, the houses would come.
Yeah.
Is that clear? Wayne looks confused. Is that clear, Wayne? Was that clear to the audience now?
What would you say separates the thinking? Like, so how did you change thinking as opposed to most agents who were running around at the same time? Like, what do you think was different in your mindset than the average agent when you were kind of building a business rather than just selling real estate?
Well, I mean, I quickly realized, that second year, I think I was doing about 36 to 40 on my own, and realized like I can't impact people at the level that I want to impact them at, as well as have a personal life that I'm proud of by just hustling houses all the time. And so I was quick to hire an assistant. I was quick to hire a buyer's agent. And I mean, my first buyer's agent, I think, was 2012. And I won't say I've never worked a buyer since, but it's been very rare situation. So I've been quick to kind of delegate and put trust in other people, because if I was to continue it, I mean, there's a ceiling for any individual agent, and I didn't want ceilings. And so I knew the faster I could leverage things out, it would be a business that if I was away, the business would keep running and it wouldn't be dependent on my action.
Of course, we're going to be all over the place because Wayne and I don't plan anything on these things. But
Perfect.
that leads to something, because there's oftentimes, and I feel like in Keller Williams especially, like that's part of the model. It's not a knock. Like, build yourself up, get an assistant or get a buyer's agent. But it sounds like you did it correctly because you were doing 40 deals, not 10, right? I mean, I think it's a big difference. Was it 40 was like the number that resonates in your mind, like the time where you realized you couldn't handle it all by yourself, or you couldn't wear all the hats appropriately? What was the number, you think?
I mean, it was probably, it was definitely the 30 to 40, because I was working buyers, and the triangle is just a large territory. So I remember I had my now husband had asked me out on a date, one of our first dates. And I was like, no, like I got to work. I'm good. I had 8 buyers on a Saturday. So, I mean, it was like, I was all over the place. And I texted him at like 9:00, and I was like, I can meet you at 9:30 for a beer. And then that was honestly, I think that was our very first date. And I realized then, like, I can't have children. Like, this isn't going to work. This is it. I want to help people. I want to help more than just 8 people in a day. How can I make that happen?
So as you built that team from the buyer's agent to where you are now, what does the makeup of your team kind of look like right now?
Currently, there's 2 running the property management company. I have director of operations, closing coordinator, and then 6 agents.
So how was that? What did you learn from building this team? Like, what mistakes do you feel like you made that you wouldn't do again if you start over?
I've made a lot of mistakes. I would say a lot of the mistakes I have made have circled around people. And I know Wayne's been part of that journey, but we've had, virtually all of our sales agents walk out. We've had, we just spent money in places that there was no return.
So what would you say are one of the 2 biggest ones? So like what did you learn when everybody walked out? Like, what would you say? Like, man, here's what I learned to help some other people that's happening.
Yeah. So I think the biggest learning lessons is, well, you start from figuring out like where's my DNA in this? How did this occur? The big one that I found, well, I guess there's 2 big ones, was as the business grows and as your name, you become more and more recognized, people want to join the team because they see it as an easy pathway.
Yeah, that looks fun. Yeah.
To go with you, right? And so a lot of my initial hires were agents in the office that were struggling and were recommended to join my team. And I'm like, okay, well, I need people.
Yeah.
These
people suck. Go, Ginger will take care of them. Perfect.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they didn't suck. They just didn't have the right foundation. They weren't, they just didn't have the right foundation. They plugged into our systems and foundation, and they found success, which was great. And then if you as a leader do not continue to communicate the value of your team or your company or your product, then without value, you lose the cost association. So agents start to think, well, this is just happening. Yes. Forget like where the leads are coming from, where you got trained, where your closing department's handling all your stuff. Like they forget all of that and they're like, I can do this on my own.
Huge. So let's pause there for a second if you don't mind, because I think that's a big issue for people. I see so many people that are giving massive, from my perspective, they're giving massive value, but they're not great at like reinforcing that in a sense. So my question for you is like, how are you doing that like as a team, but also as a brokerage? Because like you're recruiting all the time in a sense, right? Like you got to keep people in the boat. So my guess is there's some ways you're probably doing that more strategically than other people maybe are.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything rises and falls on your systems. So we had to put systems in place to make sure that these things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like on our team, it's a partnership. Like we are in partnership. Prior to the past, I would say 5 years, it was I give you, you take, you do, you receive kind of system. And now it's a partnership. So we use the word partnership a lot, down to the, like, if you bring a lead, I bring a lead. Like it's a partnership. We're looking at this as everything is 50-50. And so constantly having those conversations of, if just like, where's your business coming from? Or when we celebrate business, we say, I'm so glad that that agent referral I gave you worked out and you're able to close that. So it's just reinforcing those conversations and communicating that, and team level, pouring into them as far as the coaching and training goes as well, like growing your people, and that growing either their production or their life, whatever they want. But you have to keep continuing to pour into them and let them know that, like, because this happened, because you were engaged in this, you got this as a result. And potentially,
so kind of remind me, yeah, I love it. It reminds you of the tell them what you're going to do what you said you're going to do, and then kind of remind them that you did what you said you were going to do, right? So it's kind of like that's what you're saying is like, we say we're going to do it, we do it, then we're like, hey, by the way, right, I'm so glad you got this because we did the thing we said we're going to do. I love that. What is your system with your agents? Is it like weekly coaching? Is it group stuff? Is it long walks on the beach? What is it? That's Brad's preferred method.
So in the past, it's always been weekly.
Okay.
One-on-one coaching. And I will say, since stepping into the OP role, I've taken on a lot more coaching with a lot more people. So I had to scale it back to once every other week. And then I have blocks of open coaching if people want to jump on.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick to the twice a month right now, but I may go back to the one.
Would you agree though? It takes some one-on-one time though. Like there's only so much you can do with a broad stroke. Like it takes, somebody's got to talk to somebody one-on-one every once in a while to really take care of them.
Yeah. I need to know what's going on. And even the group coaching is tough because I can't pull out the individual tendencies in each business that way. I can't know exactly what to help them with if I don't know them have those one-on-one conversations.
As y'all know, I'm a big advocate of one-on-one. Like we coach, I'll call it coaching, but it kind of is with my agents once a month. The new ones, it's weekly and then bi-weekly and then they go monthly. But that's also where you get to know their personal lives a little bit without digging. And we all know personal lives affect business lives, right? I mean, we all know sometimes having that history or having that experience that we do, we're like, well, have you tried just hiring a cleaner to come clean your house? Like that could solve a lot of issues, or, just little stuff that I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss when they're taking on agents or coaches or teams, is they don't put the time back into the people. They just expect them to show up and do. And
the personal part is huge. And I think one of my focuses over the past couple years is pouring into the people around that person. Okay. So I have my coaching with an agent and, you learn, her husband's had some back issues and she's been going to a lot of doctor's appointments and things like that. Well, I'm going to write a card to the husband to let him know I hope he feels better and we appreciate everything that she's doing for us. So it allows you to build a deeper connection than like Ginger's just my boss or Ginger's just this person that, is a name. It's connecting on a deeper level.
It's also smart. And, we get on these podcasts and you hear these people speaking and they're always like, oh yeah, I do all this stuff. And you're in your mind, you're like, there's no fucking way you can do all of that. Right. Like I've got some friends, I swear to God, there's no way they can take care of their people like they do. I like to send cards to the spouses when their spouses, the agents that work for me have a milestone. So it's like, hey, she closed 300 deal. Like, thanks, dude. Like, appreciate the support. But it's also smart because when they go to think about leaving or they're contemplating it, who are they going to talk to? The spouse. And if the spouse likes you, it's a lot easier for them to stay. And like, no, Brad's a
Right.
good dude. You know, I'm thinking they say that. I don't know.
Versus, oh, that person just takes half your money.
Yeah. Brad's such an ass. Like, other guy. Like, I mean, might be right, might be wrong. But yeah, no, I think it's great. That's so cool.
All right, here's what I want to know. What have been the biggest money mistakes you've made? So like where have you been like because I think it's as entrepreneurs, one of the things I want to dispel is like we make mistakes sometimes, right? People are like, I don't know why I spent 10 grand on that. That was stupid, right? But like it kind of happens. Like what have been first off, I want to know what have been some of the biggest mistakes, and then like I'll let you redeem your soul by like what are the most profitable decisions you've made. But I think it's okay to be like, we've made some mistakes. Like what have some of those been?
Yeah. And I think you, Wayne, as my coach for many years, know I'm a pretty frugal person. I don't like to spend money. And because I have a finance major, like I've had P&L since my first
because you
year.
actually look at your numbers. Like
well,
you
yeah,
were like you actually reviewed your, which is a new concept. If you're listening to this. Yeah. I remember I asked my coach one time, I was like, what should I read? He's like, how about your P&L? Let's start with reading that. And I was like, snap. All right. Thank you. Got it. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So the biggest, I mean, these are very, I would say, obvious, is I spent money. I mean, I used to spend money on leads. So I was buying Zillow, buying Realtor.com, and not holding them accountable. You know, you would say, well, I just got that deal from them, but then the last $12,000 you spent, like you were always validating based on the next deal or the deal in your pipeline. So cut all of that out. Just haven't bought leads in a very long time. And then the other place that I've lost money is on talent. Well, non-talent, let's say that.
A good way. Yes.
And as my leadership lid has grown over the years, I've been more confident to cut that non-talent out faster. And I really hold myself accountable to, if this person isn't going to grow my business, my life, anything like that. And that goes all the way from people, any person that you're giving compensation to. So that could be, you know, anyone on your admin team, that could be your runner, that could be your coach, that could be people cleaning your house, like looking at all of those things and just being, I guess, braver to cut it off. If it isn't it, then let's just move on. Like we don't need to do this for 8 months and then I get enough to be like, okay.
I think it was Simon Sinek or someone that said, like, it's rarely has he seen a B turn into an A. You know what I mean? Like there's usually, like you said, like untrained people versus trained. Like that's different. But very seldom does like a B person turn into an A magically overnight. Like you said, once you realize that they're a B, like you can love them, but let them go find somewhere they're going to be an A.
And I think talent is attitude. Like talent, at the end of the day, everything revolving around talent is the attitude of the person. And then you can teach someone, you know, but if they have the right attitude, and I think the attitude shows up so much quicker than even like a 30, 60, 90 days. The attitude shows up on day 1, day 7, like out of the gate. So it's just, I've been able to detach from like the person more, you know, like build a little bit of space where I'm not like, oh my gosh, I hired them, I have to pay them. How are they going to pay their bills?
Do you find the attitude something you can teach, or is it kind of they come with that software or they don't?
I know. I mean, you can teach a bad day, or you can help a bad day, and you can help work on people's EQ. You could help them grow those things. But if they don't have a baseline of like what empathy is and what like just that baseline of care and positivity, like that's a really hard thing to change in someone.
Yeah, Brad and I talk a lot about the 3, right? Like they're hungry, they're humble, they're smart, and like they either kind of have a drive within them. They want to get better, they want to improve, or they don't. They're humble, like they're coachable, you know what I mean? And then they're emotionally intelligent. Like you kind of have those or you don't. And I think it's like, man, like especially with like coachability, like either God makes you humble or like God's the only one that turns that ship around. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You know, and it's usually
or a lot of therapy or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something major. Yeah, absolutely. What's been the most profitable things you've done? Like, what have been the things that have helped you the most increase profit or streams of income, things like that? What's been the best things you've done, whether market center or team? Yeah.
Well, we won't speak to the market center quite yet because I'm still navigating that one. I would say for our real estate business, agent business. So being in good relationship with agents across the country has been crucial. So investing in classes and traveling and meeting new people and experiences outside of our firm, inside of our firm, outside of our industry, like getting in different rooms with different people. That's been incredibly profitable. And then the other one is I mentioned our, property management company. When the team walked out that I mentioned, I was left with 2 people. And one now is our director of operations for the real estate team, and one runs the property management team. So I think pouring into your people that show up for you and trust you and want to be by your side. Like now I have another stream of income from the property management company, and she has grown that from day one and up. But I've just coached her and supported her. And now we're looking at other ways that maybe other people within our team that have been here for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, how can we help them grow another business or grow a team within a team so that they have more? So I think those are my 2 ways that
So I want to
profits
ask,
have come.
you have a really good system, and if you're willing to share it on your referral basis, I mean, you have a down pat. I get emails from you consistently about referrals and what you're doing. If you were talking to somebody that was, because I get all the time where agents go, "Hey, I want to start getting more referrals from agents." I'm like, "Do you know anybody anywhere else?" Like, nope. So what would you tell them? What would be your advice to getting a referral business started?
So for me, it's as far as the marketing goes, you got to touch them once a month. Like you have to touch them once a month, and then you have to have a system around that. So that's either the handwritten cards, the email marketing, or just a conversation with them to check in and see how their family is. And then my other goal is to be in a new room of agents that can grow my business once a month. And those people, whether it's 10 or 50 that I meet there, they need to go into our database. So I have the USA referral database, and I'm purposely getting into a room of new people that I can add to that once a month.
So is that traveling for masterminds? Is that?
Yeah. And it can be traveling like an hour away because they don't want to send business over here. It could be I'm taking CE somewhere else, or I'm going to an awards dinner somewhere else, or I'm coming to see you guys. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going, to Texas for a Keller Williams event. So it's just being strategic about growing that network.
And then it's literally the email once a month is going out to them. Is that enough, or are you doing any, like above and beyond that?
I mean, so it's the 80-20 rule. Out of this pool of people that I have, this 20% is going to send me the business, right? And so I'll love on them differently. But the thing that I've realized, it isn't so much about that first connection. Like, is how many people that first connection knows. So like if someone in, let's say, Brad's office says, "Hey, who do you guys know in Raleigh?" It would be Jane looking for somebody, but Brad would recommend my name. So making sure like for that top 20% that you stay in relationships so much that they'll recommend you when somebody else is looking for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're like 10xing your reach.
And I think
by doing
just
that.
make it really complicated, but like I love your strategy of like get in a new room every month, add them all to the database, and put them on the touch. And the like it doesn't need to be, people either do nothing or they make it so complicated that they end up doing nothing. So I think like finding that place in the middle is really beautiful. Yep.
And this year we've implemented, for years I've had our Inner Circle program, which someone sends us a referral, they get a delivery on their porch for 3 months. So month 1, month 2, month 3, they get a basket of something, or it's kind of like a subscription service is what we want them to think of it as. Well, now I'm doing this for our agent referral. So if I get an agent referral, then I'm going to touch you for the next 3 months so that I'm staying in your mind for longer. So I'm not so connected to the commission check, or when it closes, I'm getting it out of
Yeah, it's repetition. You're just reminding them longer that you're still there. But do you, I mean, the ones that do you have a hierarchy? Because I do similar. I don't do as much referral volume as you, but I look at it as a sphere. So if I know, like I have a guy in Charlotte that he sends me business all the time. So I take care of him a little differently. He gets a different gift when he sends us business.
Yeah. We have some partners that send us, I mean, we won't go on a tangent, but we're part of Place. So there's Place partners that send us a lot of business. I mean, one a week, like their referrals coming through. And so I have them on like a different appreciation scale, or I'm sending talent back to them. Like we're getting, people wanting to get into the industry, but they're looking for a different area like Charlotte. I'm sending them referrals for talent. So just however I can help support them.
Makes sense. Makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, what would you have?
No, I'm looking at my list of questions because I got lost. You go.
So for you, I would just ask, like, what do you find right now, your team members, what's required of them? Meaning, like, right now, I think some teams are struggling to keep people motivated and engaged. Do you have like a specific list of requirements that they have to do on a weekly, monthly basis? And if not, like, what do you do to keep them going?
So, I mean, we have some rhythms that we follow. We have a 9 a.m. call every day. So it's like we're back in COVID times. I know that was popular during COVID, but we have 9 a.m. call every day, and different days of the week are different things, I guess you would say. So we have to report our numbers on Mondays. We're still there. Like my team's always been appointment driven, and your appointments are based on your financial goals, and you need to be telling the team where you are on those appointments. So we do a lot of accountability around that. And then we work in Brivity. So Brivity gives us a scorecard for all of our agents every week. And so that determines if they're on leads or off leads. And that is based on how they scored in different ponds within Brivity. So it's all kind of a system that holds them accountable, that they understand, like if they don't get an 80 plus, they're off leads.
I love that. What do you do if they're not showing up to the 9 a.m. meeting? Like, do they get to show up whenever they want? Do they have to show up to some of them? What happens there?
Knock on wood, I haven't run into this issue, and it's not a required, but it's highly suggested that you are on these calls, because if you are not on these calls, then you're not going to know what's going on in our company, in the market, what's going on in people's lives, where do you need to be. So it's just highly suggested. If someone, like I did hire someone recently that he was always just, his phone was like looking at the top of his car or something. And that like kept happening and kept happening. And then I had to talk to him and be like, this is time for us to engage.
Yes.
He ended up not working out, but like people that want to show up, show up. They don't want to show up, then this may not be the right profession for them, or I may not be the right team.
Okay. So let me ask a tongue-in-cheek question. The teams that are struggling with getting the people to show up to their 9 a.m. call, whatever it is, what do you think they're doing wrong? Like what's off there?
It could be energy.
Okay.
It could be the energy of the call. It could be the value of what's being provided, which we have a long ways to go on that. Like we can always improve the value that we're providing. It could be the expectation of, because right now we're reading a book and exactly what to say. And every morning we're discussing that. So
awesome.
It could potentially be they don't know what they're going in to discuss.
Yeah.
Or they're just sleeping. I don't know.
No, I think it's great, and it is like, I think like what you're saying is like the leader sets the tone for that call, and if like the energy is there and the values there, they're probably going to show up. If it's not, then it's probably a person you need to let go anyway. You know what I mean?
Like
but,
Monday,
I
had them all like standing up, and you got to stand up until you tell us all something you're grateful for. So like they know I'm coming in there with my energy. I'm pouring into them, and I'll call them out if they're not pouring back in.
Yeah. So what's the format of that morning call, if you don't mind?
We usually start with something good, something you're grateful for, and then we move into the meat. So numbers, market updates, we have our lender on one of them. So whatever the meat of the call is, and then our book, and we script and role play. Right now we're scripting and role playing chapters of that book, but we always do some kind of script and role play on our morning call, and then operations updates us on any operations updates or calendar updates.
Love it.
So it's usually 20 minutes. Some days I'm like, guys, I don't have a lot today. I just want to see that you're up and you're working and you're trying to make it happen today, you know? So, and then some days are longer, but.
Does it ever feel like you're like pulling donkeys up a hill a little bit? I mean, because
not right now.
Not right now?
It has in the past. It definitely has. And I just think it's two things. I think it's one, like, I know I'm doing the right things to get these people into production. Like, I'm going to keep showing up, and I'm going to keep my energy, and I'm going to keep pouring in. And so that helps me validate that. And then also I think it's the people. Like, if you have a skunk on your team, then other people are going to smell it, and they're all going to become skunks too. And I had skunks for a while that we're bringing down the attitude. And so we do not have any skunks right now. So it smells good.
Well, asking for a friend asking for a friend. How do you keep people that you like on your team or your company and still insulate yourself enough that if they left, it doesn't sink your team again?
So if I had a friend on my team,
No, I'm just saying, it was a joke for me, but like if you have some producers on your
my
team,
best friend's on my team.
gosh, that's scary.
How do you navigate that?
Yeah.
She's been on my team for, she'll kill me if I don't know this, 7 years, almost 7 years. How do we navigate that? So I kind of made it clear in the beginning. We talk business on Slack and we talk personal on text. It's very straightforward. If I'm at the office, we're talking business. It's rare that we're talking any personal. And then when we're personal, we're rarely talking business. It hasn't really been that challenging. Growing her, just like I'm growing anyone else. She is our top producer, but she's never gotten any special favoritism or treatment. So it hasn't been hard. And should she choose to do something that she feels like is a better path for her and her family, then I'm going to support that just like I would support anyone else. It's just black and white for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess more my question, like the front aside, but like you're building people up and you're helping them to make a business, right? And doing well. At the same time, if you have 2 or 3 people leave at the same time, it hurts your team, hurts your numbers. So are you doing to like insulate yourself a little bit? I mean, there's a saying that everybody's always going to leave you, but how do you keep small quality, but yet not expose yourself to vulnerability if they walk out?
You keep hiring, you keep growing. Like I have a baseline. People, our team's goals are based on like metrics that I need to hit and numbers that I have to hit. And so if someone comes to me and says they're doing 50 deals, they can do 50 deals, but that's their 50 deals. Like my agents are 12 agent producers. So if I need 1,200 deals, I do not. But if I did, I need 100 agents, right? So I'm staying focused on like our baseline numbers so that take back the example from last time, when 160 deals walk out the door, I am insulated because I didn't have it all on a couple people.
No, that's good. I mean, so you're doing sort of the model of just like keep recruiting and making sure you've got a fresh flow coming through in case that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business, and you go to like a clothing store, you don't have 2 people that sell all the clothes and then they both get sick on the same day and nobody can work. I mean, it's just like you have to keep growing your staff and your team.
Do you have a recruiting system for bringing people in, or where do you find them?
Yes, and most of it is place driven. Like a lot of our Indeed stuff goes into Brivity, then we convert them from there.
Yeah, but it's happening all the time, correct? Like,
yeah.
I think most people, and what you're saying, that if I can just put my spin on it, is like, I hear you saying it's a continual piece of your business, not an event. And most people treat recruiting like an event, like, oh crap, I need someone, and then they go find someone, and then they stop recruiting. And what I hear you saying is like, this is part of our ongoing thing. We always that machine is consistently going. If we don't need somebody, we'll refer them to somebody else, or whatever it is. Like, you're always doing that. And I think that's one of the big issues for teams is they don't have a way to do that consistently.
Yeah, my director of operations, she sets 20 recruiting appointments a month. And then my like stick in the sand is I sign 2 of them a month. So we should sign 24, but it's always 20 and 2. Those are the numbers that we are pushing for.
I love it. All right. Sorry, Brad.
I was going to ask about Indeed because I've done that in the past. I had a company approach me. It wasn't Place, a different company, set up Indeed ads, a whole recruiting funnel. I just had a hard time getting people that were in touch with reality about real estate off of Indeed, right?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely the ads that you're running.
Right.
A lot of our successful ads are the showing agent partner ad where people think, and you're recruiting them for an agent, right? But you're getting them in the door and you're showing them like you can actually make more money over here. And then you're building a funnel. So it's how many can I get in the funnel? I think last month we probably got like 150 in the funnel. So we're pulling some out. Some need to get into real estate school because they don't know what the heck's happening. So we help them push them further down the funnel. I think it's just systems around all of it and how big of a net can you throw to capture people into the funnel.
That's fair. Yeah. No, I always like the first question, like, where do you think your business is going to come from? And they're just blank. They have no idea. They've never thought about that. They just thought they get to show houses and write offers. So that's usually the one that kicks a lot of those Indeed ads back out for me, or the
Yeah.
So for you, what's your tech stack? What are the 2 or 3 tools you're using to help keep everything in line? Like what's the top 3 or 4, tech things you guys are using to help kind of manage everything? And I know a lot of that probably comes from place.
Yeah, I mean, Brevity is huge for us. We were on Sync for a while, and so that's been a big adjustment, but the Brevity's definitely helped us scale system-wise.
Is it better?
Yeah, it is better. I don't want to
good. There you go.
hurt anyone's feeling.
That's all we do here to hurt feelings. So yeah, who's better, who sucks? That's what we want to know. So
Brevity's better. The
Brevity's
transaction
crushing it.
management is better. Yeah, it's better. I mean, I really don't have anything exciting. Slack is huge for our team, but because that just keeps constant communication. I think without some kind of constant communication with your team, it feels like people are on an island.
Yep.
And then for me, I run everything in my life off Google Drive. So there's no like secret tip. I like Trello for my personal life, but for business, I use Google Drive.
Well, something you said earlier I think is interesting is like, so my guess would be do you push most communication to Slack? Like most people, do you kind of try to make it all happen there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of our transactions are in Slack. The closing coordinator is communicating with the agent in Slack. Then we can download those records and file them. I try to keep like different channels for everything so that we're not searching in our email to be like, what did Sarah say about this? We can just go to that channel and we know.
I think it's so huge because that's a little side note, but I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of frustration with teams. Like, was that an email? Was that a text? Was that a messenger? Was that like it's and they're communicating in 7 different places? Like, no wonder you're frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So like it just helps so much. Like, let's do 99% of that here.
Yeah.
And
then if it's really important, if it's like you may miss this, then she'll send an email, but that's rare. That's like a big thing.
I think it's so good. Like, and little things like that make such a huge. The reason I'm pointing it out is because it makes such a huge impact in the scheme of things that most people, it's small, but they don't really appreciate how much stress it's put on the organization. So one of the things we say a lot is every frustration is an indication. So like, hey, if I'm frustrated, like, man, where's this? Or we're chasing things down, or who did what? Like, it's an indication that like, oh, we actually probably should do this in place, or it's an indication we probably need to add that to the checklist, or it's an indication we probably need to. So I love that thought of like every frustration is an indication. And what we usually do is just take more medication, right? So we just like take an aspirin, like just figure it out, work harder, whatever it is.
Write random prescriptions.
Yes. Instead of like, hold on, like how do we actually, and I think that's one of the things led to a lot of your success is I think you consistently stepped back and built phenomenal systems. I think some of the system that sounds really big and scary, sometimes that's just like a checklist. Right. Sometimes that could just be adding one Slack channel, whatever it is. So I think some of these systems is kind of, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small.
Well, it's just how do we make this not happen again, or how do we make it happen again? Without a system, like our brains can only do so much.
Yeah. The one thing I think with Slack too is that it closes the conversation loop, right? Because you can ask somebody to do something, but like in our company, we do the same thing Gender does, but they have to like, if I ask a coordinator to do something, they can just give me a thumbs up. I know they saw it and they got it, right? And if I'm busy, I can go back tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, they did get that set up because they said done. So I don't have to worry about it.
You can schedule send. So at night, I don't want to bother people, but I'm like, hey, they need to know this, schedule send. It's out of my mind. It's over to them. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
How's property management been? Would you recommend that to everyone, or what's your thoughts on that?
If you have the person, if you have the right person, then definitely. If you're like, this looks like I didn't want to start a property management company. Like, so if you just get a wild hair and you're like, I think I can make money doing this, I would not advise it. It is absolutely nonstop. People are crazy. I mean, I'm talking crazy. And you just need to have the right talent to push it through.
All right. What's the craziest property management?
Somebody threatened to show up with a gun and shoot her. I mean,
that's pretty typical for a day in a property manager life. Yeah. Nobody likes property. The owners, the tenants, nobody likes you.
Nobody likes them. And it's just,
But
the good thing about property management is the income is quite consistent.
Yes. Yeah.
So once you hit that 100, and that's what we found. The 100 was the profitable number for us.
100 doors.
100 doors. Yeah. We went heavy on the staff and we went heavy on the foundation and then let it build up. But at that point you have 200 doors that are paying you, you're doing lease up fees, like then it starts to stack. So I do like the consistency of it. And I think it's going to be easier to expand as a property management company than the real estate company.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. What do you want to be really proud of a year from now? We're sitting here a year from now. What do you want to be like, man, like these are the things that we did or happened or where are you headed?
So in the OP role, it would be that we've hired 105 agents, or we brought on 105 agents. That would take us to about 275, which would be a win for us. And it is very doable. Let's see. In the property management, they're at 275 doors. Real estate team is around 2 million in GCI. That's where we want to be. And then for me personally, my husband just, Wayne, you'll find this interesting. He's staying at home now with the boys. So Alan's a stay-at-home dad.
Awesome.
I would like to keep him there because my laundry is washed and my food's cooked, and it's great.
Yeah.
So. I tell you, I'm gonna make somebody a great wife. By the way, like I'm nailing it. But that is so cool for him.
Yeah,
to be able to do that, that is awesome. How cool is that? How cool.
So,
what do you think? What are you worried about this year, or what do you got to get better at this year? Based on just everything you see coming and the levels that you want to get better at.
I am very optimistic about this year. I think if you've stayed the same or grown in the past 2 years, like that's a huge win. And I just see this year, like if we've already mastered all of that noise and all of that stuff, then we're fine this year. So like, let's just double down, and I'm really optimistic about it. Yeah. What was the other part?
No, I think it's great. And I would be optimistic about it too, especially the way you build your business, because it's so built on relationships and taking care of people and things like that. And I think this is really going to be a year where those businesses thrive. And it's like, you're going to be making the connection behind the scenes. And well, actually, Sarah did mention she wanted like those are the business I think they're going to thrive this year. I think the ones that are solely dependent on internet leads and things like that, it's going to be, it could potentially be a really tough year for them.
It could, for sure.
If they don't figure out how to go to back to relational.
And then they're going to be paying out so much. I mean, the cost of sale on that is just crazy. You can't make any money.
Yeah, it's huge. All right. Real estate goes away tomorrow. What does Ginger do? Right. Real estate goes away. Property management goes away. What would you do tomorrow if you had to go reinvent yourself?
Okay. I think it would be really cool to be the press secretary. That's my new thing. I think that would be awesome. I mean, it doesn't even matter who it's for, but I think that would be really cool. Outside of that, I definitely think I would have to work in the news industry. So
that's amazing.
I think I would be like a reporter because I'm way too into like what's going on in the world.
That is awesome. I love it. So are you doing like a video every week, like updating the rest of us on what's going on
in the world?
Yes.
I should.
You should every single week be like, hey, like here's what's up.
Here's
right?
what's
like,
up.
I think you
see what happened?
Yes, I would be your first subscriber.
Okay, I may do that.
Because we all know I don't read so good. So, man, it would be great if
there's a lot going on. Like I could tell you a lot.
That's what I hear. And by the way, press secretary sounds like the most terrifying job I could ever imagine. I don't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. Like I'm good for you. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that would be cool.
Whew, that's amazing. All right, Brad, you get the last couple of questions. What do you got?
No, I mean, I think you hit them all. I mean, I think the things I'm taking away from this conversation is as soon as you asked her what her goals were, what would make her successful this year, she had them. Right? Ask that to any agent in your market center, or I'll ask my agents outside this door. They're going to be stuttering a little bit because they haven't really thought about it, and they also haven't owned it, right? They don't think it's achievable. So I think that's why she's being so successful and she's got her shit together, because she's putting the KPIs in front of her. She knows what she needs. So I love this conversation because it's business first. I think that's what real estate needs. So no, I think it's great. The one question I do have is there any advice that you would give to working parents, especially women? I mean, I'll be honest, y'all have it way harder than working dads do. I believe in real estate, but like I'm surrounded with people that are having babies all the time, and I try and help them through the best way, but you're badass up there. So what would you say to working parents?
So I think the 1-1-3-7 is really important. So you taking one full day off a week. So you're disconnected 1 day a week. You take a 3-day vacation every month, and then a week-long vacation every quarter. and having those already on your calendar and planned out so that that is your off time. Like that is your time. Either, someone's covering your business, or let's just say you have to spend one night after they go to sleep or 1 hour after they go to sleep working on your computer, but the rest of the time you're off. Like, those days are already planned. I think you have to lay that foundation first, because your children will come to learn like that routine, and they'll know, okay, well, mom's going to be with us a full week in March and 3 days this month. So I think that teaches that time management. Outside of that, I think the work-life balance thing's kind of a myth as far as it goes on like a daily basis. So like going home, and people say, shut it off. And, when you go home, and I think that's really challenging in our business. But if you can lay the foundation of like the 1-3-7 every quarter.
Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's any of the little nuggets like that in there. That was awesome. I love that 1-3-7. That was great.
Like, go ahead and put it on your calendar and have it on the wall and share it with your spouse and be like, this is it. So
that's great.
Yep.
Thank you for taking your time. I know you're super busy.
Of course.
14 different.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah. So thanks for taking your time to do this. And
yeah.